The rooftop heat never lifts this time of year, not even at night, not even 40 floors above Karachi's traffic. It just flattens into a warm breath that glazes the glasses and fogs the edge of every photo frame. Watch the projector bloom. Against the poolside wall Santorini blues, a yacht cut like a thumbnail moon. My mother's silk scarf whipping in Mediterranean wind. And the CFO clears his throat to welcome our hardworking winners back from the office Christmas trip. That wasn't in December and wasn't in the budget. Someone laughs, someone claps. I hold a thick white envelope that will not bend, and my father's face glides into view on the wall, smiling around a flute of something cold, while a string of wire IDs scrolls through my mind in the same font as the projector's captions. The waiter passes behind me with a tray of oysters, and the smell is salt and lemon and a kind of theater I'm done buying tickets to. One line is enough to end a career or rearrange a family. One line is also enough to authorize it. Next minutes you'll see how the money left my account, who touched it, and why it won't be where they think by dawn, I say to the woman on my right, who is not quite my ally and not quite my mother's friend, but who asked me to sit with her because she was curious about the envelope. She smiles like she's in on a trick. She isn't. The projector clicks. A picture of my parents on a staircase inside a museum, Berlin. The caption says, "But it's the wrong museum for Berlin." The manager of the rooftop restaurant, a man with a dimple like a hyphen, is rehearsing tonight's timing with his staff behind a planter of bougainvillea. The dimple is how I'll remember him when I think of the night the lies went official. Someone has printed place cards on vellum. Mine is missing. A gust slides across the pool, lifts the edge of the table runner, and for a second I see that bare concrete beneath all this linen and light, the skeleton of the place that holds the party. My father waves at someone. My mother touches the stone beads at her neck. To compare, reads a script in which generosity and loyalty are nouns that seem to cost nothing at all. I've brought a different vocabulary. Earlier, when the sun was still painting the glass towers the color of mango flesh, I stood in the bank lobby at Clifton, the air like refrigerated chalk, and the manager had said, "We've prepared the reversal notices as you instructed, Ms. Aisha." He slid them across to me on a red folder that smelled faintly of toner and citrus hand gel. There were 9 notices. 9 is an unlucky number in my mother's stories. 9 is also the number of wire transfers that hit the travel. Concierges account for days before the trip that was supposedly a prize for the sales team alone. The concierge's name was saved in my father's phone under a single letter, B. I'd said to my lawyer when we met 2 days earlier at a cafe near Burns Road, not the old driver, not visa support, not a vendor we normally use. Just VV for various, my lawyer said, smiling like a teacher who knows the test answers. You have the audit trail. I did. I had watched the money leave the college fund. Trust my grandparents created the year I was born. I had watched it miss 5 stops it was legally required to make and glide instead into the company's travel pool through a shell vendor. Then on to the concierge, whose signature was practiced and neat. I had watched and then I had sworn an affidavit. The pool lights flicker on now, making the water look like pressed metal. A server places small plates in front of us with scallops slicked in oil. Across the aisle, the HR director, my mother's friend, reaches to the microphone to say something about culture. She wears blue to match the projection. My mother squeezes my father's hand. My father watches the entrance, calculating late arrivals like variables he can still solve. I slide the envelope into my bag and let my fingers settle on the pen tucked beside it. The pen is heavy, with a notary's stamped seal built into the clip. It clicks open with a sound like a lock. The pen is showy. I bought it on purpose because I wanted the sound tonight. Nobody has noticed that there's no chair for me at the family table. When I picked up my name card at the host, sandpaper smooth as onion skin, font with too much confidence, I found my place at a back table marked Finance Guests. The joke writes itself, but I wait for it to be spoken by someone else. It isn't. Instead, A junior analyst takes the seat beside me and whispers that she's nervous. This is her first time on a rooftop that isn't a sister's wedding. I tell her her eyeliner is perfect and her email subject lines are even better. She blushes the same shade as the bougainvillea and then leans forward when the compare announces a short film. The film is called Our Family Abroad. It is 6 minutes long, set to a guitar that aims for tender. There is an overhead shot of the yacht like a cufflink. There is a slow-motion sequence of someone popping a bottle on a balcony I recognize from a travel blog I used to daydream over when I still thought college meant leaving. There is a shot of my mother on a deck chair, her head thrown back, her laugh turned into a ribbon by the edit hand. Then the camera swings to my father wading into the tips of a tide like he's baptized in not paying the bill. My phone buzzes against my hip. One vibration, the code I set with the bank manager, funds frozen, reversal notices filed, hold confirmed. The timestamp is 21:02. A fly skates the lip of my water glass. Dips, escapes, dries its hands on the linen like it has ancestry here. Speech. Someone shouts and the rooftop claps like a single pair of hands. My father stands, takes the microphone, weight of a small verdict. He thanks the team. He thanks the board. He thanks the families who support our hustle. And when he says family, his head tilts toward my mother and my mother's head tilts toward an empty space that isn't my seat. Heat lifts from the pool lights in slow ghosts. The manager with the dimple watches the doors like he expects police and is hoping for none. Seems I'm not family. I don't mean to say it out loud, but the words are a pebble I've been rolling in my mouth all evening and now they fall. The junior analyst hears me and looks at my name card. Then at the missing place at the other table. And she understands something about promotions that isn't on any performance plan. I bring the envelope up and stand. The smell of grilled prawns mixes with chlorine and perfume. The projector hums. The city unwraps itself in lights below us like a patient set of proofs. The mic is not in my hand yet. I don't need it to begin. Before you rap, I say, voice shaped like a receipt. One small correction. Heads turn the way they turn for sirens and gossip and sudden sales. My mother's mouth makes the O of my name. My father's hand tightens on the mic like it's a handrail in a storm. The HR director's smile goes to a default setting. The compare expects a toast. The manager with the dimple, I can tell, has read enough drama in this city to recognize Act 2 when it steps out in flats and a black dress. I'm Isha, I say to the back rows, to the finance team, to the woman with the envelope curiosity, to the waiters aligning plates like paragraphs. Daughter of your coup. Former owner of a college fund that visited 4 countries last week. The laughter that comes is nervous. I open the envelope and lift out the stack. The top page is the durable power of attorney executed the day I turned 18, giving me control over the trust until I enrolled or refused. Nobody here has seen it. It was notarized at a desk that smelled like old wood and tea. It holds 4 signatures. Mine, my grandfather's. The witness, my aunt, who keeps quiet because she has learned that quiet can live longer than anger. And the notary with red ink on his fingers? I won't shout, I say, I'll use process and receipts. The rooftop is suddenly as quiet as the bank lobby at closing. The sea wind reaches us with the smell of diesel and salt. Somewhere far below, a motorcycle coughs and peels away into a night it understands. When the invitation to the trip went out, top performers plus leadership plus spouses. My mother told me they'd be back before the heat got serious. She called it a benediction for a year that cut close. I clapped for their photos in the family group chat and then watched the trust account like a lifeguard watching a crowded pool. On Monday, 9 wires. On Tuesday, 1 refund, not enough. On Wednesday, a memo entered at the company, discretionary travel pool of Y update, unsigned. I gathered what mattered. Wire confirmations with bank stamps, screenshots of the trust, Dashboard with the access logs redacted except for the IP that linked to my father's office. Audio of a phone call with V in which V said, "Yes, sir. The upgrade to the yacht package processed, fine. We'll backfill the ledger under corporate hospitality once compliance clears the notation." He said my father's name like a password. He did not know I recorded. The law allows it. Single-party consent. I checked twice. I made a table of the money leaves and returns like a seasonal migration. I took the file to my lawyer, who took it to a magistrate who initialed the top corner, with a letter that cost him nothing and gave me everything: the right to freeze and reverse. Under a suspicion of misappropriation from a protected educational trust, behind me, someone whispers police. Don't want police. I want paper. Paper holds longer. The bank manager lie one filed the freeze at 1612 today. The company's bank lied too. A woman in compliance, who has watched men call favors and was bored of it, flagged the discretionary pool and escalated to the CFO at 1847. The travel concierges. Payment processor lie 3. A man who loves policy. Because policy makes him taller, because policy makes him taller, responded T-mail titled Chargeback Window Immediate Action. And the phrase reversed and rescinded sang like a duet. I lift the second document. This is the revocation notice, I say. Filed, served, recorded. It cites Clause 7B of the trust, my POA authority. And the audit right triggered by non-educational transfers over PKR. 50,009 such transfers occurred. You'll see the wire IDs in Annex A. The CFO takes a step toward the mic, but the manager with the dimple is between him and the sound now, not by accident. The compare is holding to champagne flutes and a prayer. My mother's face has gone quiet in the way her face goes quiet when she is about to call me dramatic at home. Here, she swallows it. You're embarrassing your mother, my father says, into the mic, forgetting that volume is not power. We'll talk inside. Inside is where this started, I say. Here is where it gets witnessed. I hand the courier slip-stamped 1923, delivered to the company's registered address to the HR director. She reads the top line and sits down slowly, as if a chair is a new concept. I slide the bank's acknowledgement across the nearest table to the CFO. He doesn't touch it. The junior analyst beside me exhales the way a person does when a math problem stops being hypothetical and starts being a proof. My phone buzzes again. 2 vibrations. The travel concierge's processor has executed the reversal and notified all downstream vendors to halt disbursement. The yacht was paid in full, but the chargeback will bite before the week is out. The hotel in Santorini will reply in the morning. Time zones are an advantage when your strategy is patience. The company card will groan and then confess. A breath of cooler air comes off the pool, surprising, like the first seconds after a generator catches. The light on the water goes jade. A waiter pauses with a tray and the smell of coriander walks through. Someone to my left says affidavit like it's a foreign dish and I want to tell him it's just flour and water and time. Allies, I say, counting on my fingers because the body remembers what the mind fears it will forget. Clued Nima at the bank, who certified the logs. Mr. Khan, my attorney, who executed the notarial record. Inspector Raza, who witnessed delivery of the notices to your office. The company's own compliance officer, who escalated the discretionary pool variance. And the travel processor's manager, who recorded the chargeback window and countersigned the reversal. There will be more tomorrow. Tonight is enough. My father tries to laugh, but the sound dies early, like a candle in an elevator. You always had a flair for theater, he says. We were going to pay it back. Not from my account, I say. Not with my signature forged via a facsimile stamp you keep in your locked drawer. The one under the ledger in your home study. Top right? My mother stares at me like I've read a diary. She knows the drawer. She knows I've seen the stamp I never authorized because one afternoon she left the study door open to answer the bell. And I walked in to borrow a pen and found an impression of my name on blotting paper, like a ghost of consent. I checked the impression under light. I say now, and the rooftop is all light. It doesn't match the curvature of my hand. You can love a child and still counterfeit her. The word counterfeit lands with the weight I intended. The HR director flinches. The CFO's eyes cut to him and back, calculating distances. A glass somewhere shivers, nowhere near a hand. I take a breath. The heat is a shawl now, heavy, the smell of sea and engine oil folding into the citrus of the table. I think of my grandfather teaching me to roll roti thin without tearing it. The patience in his hands, the way he said the dough listens, if you do. In 30 minutes, I say, your accounts payable queue will receive a hold notice. In the morning, court clerk will stamp an order preserving the status quo on the discretionary pool until the audit is complete. I've filed, served, and recorded. Anything you try to move will be frozen and then traced. This is not a fight. It's a process. My mother says my name, not into the mic, just to me. I hear in it all the good mornings she managed, even when money was low. And all the afternoons she said, not this month, to my field trip forms. And I want to take her hand, but her hand is in pearls and expectation and a yacht that was not hers to ride. Sit, please, the manager with the dimple says softly at my elbow, not to me, but to the shock rippling the front rows. He has read that room's resize around truth. The CFO clears his throat. Let's be reasonable, he begins, and I cut him off not with sound but with paper. I hold up the trust clause, where educational purposes is defined in lines that smell like ink and decades. I hold up the bank logs that show the login from my father's office. IP at 2:13 the night before the first transfer. Countersigned by no one but witnessed by a camera that lives behind a smoke detector in the study. Newly installed by the neighbor's nephew who does home security for half the block and who agreed. When I asked to set the recording to cloud with a chain of custody log that would make a prosecutor hum, I don't need to say footage. The word enters the room by itself. A woman at the far table, the company's accountant, who has filed against Storms with nothing but staples, lifts her chin a degree. This isn't internal, she says, to the CFO without the mic. This is external. She brought the stamps. He looks at me. What do you want? It is a real question at last, stripped. An apology would be sweet, I say, but not necessary. I want the reversals to complete and the audit to run under my supervision. I want an addendum filed with the trust court clarifying that any future discretionary pool cannot be funded by personal or educational accounts. I want the forged stamp surrendered, the study drawer keys turned over, and a written statement from you on company letterhead that the trip's funding source was unauthorized. And I want HR to update the gift and hospitality policy you pretend exists. People made sacrifices this year. My mother says, eyes watering in the way that makes me ache against my own case. We just wanted, she stops because she knows wanting is the oldest defense and the most brittle. You wanted December in June, I say, and my voice stays calm because calm is what I can afford. And you wanted to use the money meant for the version of me who believed you'd guard it. You wanted the rubber stamp to be enough. A helicopter passes somewhere east, blinking like a cursor. The city noise lifts and settles. The smell of jasmine from a planter sneaks in and reminds me that even here, even now, something grows without permission. The compare, who has learned a few things tonight, says into a second mic, we'll take a short break. And the rooftop becomes a quiet market of glances and decisions. The finance team edges closer. The travel coordinator, who has seen this choreography in smaller rooms, steps forward with a file in her arms. She speaks to the CFO in a voice I would trust with my last rupee. Reversal emails are in, she says. Audit trail set. Do you want to confirm compliance intake? I thank her with my eyes. She nods once. She is an ally by nature, not by name. Paper and women have saved me in equal parts. By the pool, my father lowers the mic to his side like a weapon he can't carry to the exit and walks toward me. He stops 3 feet away. Heat presses our clothes. The projector shows a frozen frame of a white building with blue doors. You did this to embarrass us, he says. Low. You could have come to me. I did, I say. You said not now, Beta. You said you'd fix it quietly. I look at his hands. The drawer wasn't quiet. He blinks. Something in his face loosens and then tightens again into the man the company thinks he is. "We'll return it," he says, like offering me a chair. "We'll make it right. It's already returning." I say, "Making it right will take more than money." The junior analyst beside me is crying silently, mascara unmoved. She touches my elbow. "I didn't know it could be like this," she says, meaning that language can be instruments and not just slogans. I want to tell her she can carry stamps in her bag, too. A breeze runs over the water and slaps the paper lightly in my hand. The stage light lifts on the rooftop kitchen, and I see, through the pass, the chef's arm moving like a metronome. Time is back. My heart settles. Tonight, I say to the room, to the family that is also a company, to the company that is also a story we tell ourselves so we can sleep, we acknowledge the facts. Tomorrow, we comply. The HR director stands again. She has a sheet of paper in her hands that the compare slipped her like a note in school. "Effective immediately," she says, voice steady. "We will cooperate with the audit initiated by Ms. Aisha. The discretionary travel pool is enjoined pending review. The company apologizes to any employee whose efforts were overshadowed by this misallocation." She swallows. "We will update our hospitality policy and gift register within 30 days. We will indemnify the trust against any losses certified by the bank. I will file the memo tonight." The CFO nods. It is either the first honest thing he has done today or the last easy one. My mother looks at me like a girl looks at the ocean for the first time and understands. It is both beautiful and dangerous and will not bend. She touches the beads at her neck as if to count prayers, then lets her hand fall. Under the table where no one sees, her shoes buckle gently as if the straps are new to this width of evening. The projector goes dark. The rooftop lights rise. The city breathes. Seems I'm not family. The second time is not a pebble. It is a polished stone. I return to the shelf because it belongs to a younger me. The words hold less and less as the room sizes to fit my own spine. We sit, we sign, we countersign. The notary clip on my pen leaves a round red mark strange enough to feel like a blessing. The courier returns. He is thin and patient and smells of petrol, and carries 2 envelopes with the company letterhead to the lift with the carefulness of a man walking soup through a crowd. The bank manager texts a final confirmation that 3 reversals have cleared in the last 20 minutes, and that the rest are queued. Her message has a double period at the end, the way she always types when she is satisfied and tired. In the emptier minutes after, when the party has thinned to clusters of apologies and the oysters have warmed past their confidence, my father sits beside me with more distance than the chair requires. He tells me about when he was 21, when he borrowed from the wrong account and returned it in full and thought that was ethics. I tell him about ethics that don't depend on luck or timing. We do not agree, but we stop arguing because the jasmine has gotten louder, and it is hard to be furious around. A smell that was invited by no one and still made itself welcome. Inspector Raza appears at the edge of the pool deck in a linen shirt that looks like it came from a relative's shop and nods once. He witnessed the service, he says, and logs it on his phone. He does not touch the food. He watches the city the way a man watches a chessboard he has played on for 30 years. By midnight, the rooftop is broom-swept and silent. The manager with the dimple gives me a receipt for the notary fee because he says he collects good stories but files them under maintenance. He asks if I want the last slice of cake in a cling-wrap triangle. I say yes, and the plastic smell takes me briefly back to school lunches with cling film and warm mango. I take the cake home and eat it at the counter, the tile cool against my elbows, the fan ticking like a metronome, finding the right bar again. In the week that follows, it isn't grand or cinematic. It is letters filed, keys surrendered, codes revoked, policies updated. A forged stamp surrendered to a green felt tray that made a small final sound. It is employees who stop by my desk to say thank you, like asking for permission, and I tell them no permission needed. It is donors to the company's annual charity. Gala who call and ask quiet questions about governance and say, They're pleased to see the language audited and certified. Appear in a memo that was previously mood and promise. It is my mother texting me photos of recipes she's trying to make at home again instead of eating at meetings. As if boiling lentils could fix a ledger, and it can't, but it can feed you while you fix it. It is the yacht company issuing a neutral, optional apology for the administrative inconvenience of pulling funds from a completed charter. It is the travel processor hosting a training on chargeback windows attended by a room full of men who used to delegate policy to assistants and now read clauses aloud. It is the company accountant placing a small brass stamp on her desk that says certified true copy and using it like punctuation. It is also finally a letter from my grandfather's old lawyer, acknowledging the addendum to the trust, the clause that clarifies what educational is and isn't. Countersigned by me and recorded at the court in a ledger that smells like dust and date stamps. I run my finger over the ink and feel nothing but friction, which is what law is when it works. There is a neighbor's nephew who brings me a tiny drive with footage file, names like prayers, 202-506-090213, and refuses payment because he says he is saving for his own course, and I press money into his palm anyway. Because dignity is a ledger too. There is the junior analyst who frames the email, where she wrote her first memo that cited a clause number and sent it with the subject per policy. And it makes her look taller in the hallways where height has nothing to do with bones. On a morning when the light is clean and the air almost cool, I meet my mother at Freer Hall. We sit on a bench under a rain tree and watch a boy chase a paper plane he's folded badly. She doesn't say sorry. She says she is learning how to sit with being wrong without the posture of martyrdom. I tell her that I am learning how to be right without becoming hard. The boy's plane lands near my foot and I hand it back with a crease that will make it fly another few meters. We watch it lift. We walk to the art market and buy a pen from a woman who engraves names while you wait. The metal warms under my thumb. My mother chooses a blue that matches the pool that night and asks the woman to engrave a word on the barrel. The woman writes comply in a looping script and doesn't ask for a story. At home, I open the study drawer that is now empty but for paper clips that look like spare ribs and a dried out highlighter with its mouth open. I lay a small envelope there with a key inside. It's the key to my first apartment, held until the deposit cleared. I label the envelope in a hand that has carried stamps and set boundaries. I label it not family only. I close the drawer. Seems I'm not family. The third time is not a survival sentence. It's a reminder that I can define the word without shrinking to fit anyone's table. I start my course in September. It's not abroad and it's not in a brochure. It's a night program in finance and law that smells like chalk and ambition and the polyester of working people. My classmates bring their own dinners and tiffins and their questions in folded squares. I bring a pen that clicks like a lock and notes that cite what they take rather than what they imagine. Here's my ask. Because stories deserve more lives than one. If this helped you see a calm, procedural way through a storm, share it with the one person who needs calm more than outrage. If you want more dignified justice blueprints like this, tap follow so you don't miss the next case I turn into a map.